and thank you for joining us for this Fireside chat. I'm Jennifer White, PETA UK's Senior Media and Communications Manager. We're helping animals in many parts of the world, and tonight we'll take you to Ukraine, Jordan, South America, the Middle East and India to catch a glimpse of what your support of the Global Compassion Fund is doing in those areas of thousands of miles apart. As you can imagine, PETA-supported rescue teams in Ukraine have been facing incredible challenges since the war began. Russia invaded on a Thursday, and thanks to support from the Global Compassion Fund, or GCF, PETA Germany had a fully equipped team on the ground in Ukraine 3 days later. And rescue workers supported by the GCF will be there as long as they need to be. Today, we'll give you the latest stories of rescue and hope from there and from Peru, Jordan, and India too. As you'll hear, the catastrophic flooding that began when the Nova Kakhovka Dam in Ukraine broke on June 6th caused new challenges in a country where animals and humans are already in deep trouble. But PETA and our partners, funded through the Global Compassion Fund, have a lot of experience rescuing animals in disaster zones. And we'll take you with them as they save Kai, Afina, and hundreds of other animals caught up in this disaster. Come with us to India too, where it's the 20th anniversary of Animal Rahat, one of our wonderful GCF-supported partner organizations that works for large animals like bulls, camels, and horses. Today, they need your help to tackle a new crisis that will involve moving hundreds of rescued animals to their sanctuaries. Ingrid will share updates from PETA India too, another organization that is doing incredible rescue work for animals. The GCF supports life-saving long-term projects, answering to reports of extreme cruelty, operating spay and neuter campaigns, replacing animals who have been forced to work with machines that can do the exact same job, and much more. And this fund also powers all our rapid response teams, those working in danger zones and in impoverished areas of the globe, as well as our many wonderful partners saving animals' lives. Rescuers supported by the GCF have responded to a devastating explosion in Beirut, a volcanic eruption in the Philippines, the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, and more. So, be prepared to be proud as Ingrid Newkirk, our founder, starts off with an update on the situation for animals in Ukraine.
Thank you. Yes, rescue workers have been on the ground in Ukraine since Russia invaded. Thanks to the support of the Global Compassion Fund, they've searched bombed-out buildings to find and rescue desperate, trapped, and hungry victims, and they've taken over 11,000 frightened animals to safety, providing them with veterinary care, and either reuniting them with their human families or sending them on to new homes or safe houses. The destruction of the dam was a catastrophe on top of a catastrophe. This dam was Ukraine's largest reservoir, holding back a wall of water that buried dozens of towns and villages. About 40,000 people were evacuated, and of course many animals were left stranded, the lucky ones able to clamber onto rooftops hoping for rescue. Our partner is Animal Rescue Kharkiv, or ARC. They got to the flooded region within hours after the news broke. They gathered food, medicines, supplies, and 5 GCF-sponsored boats to be able to enter the flood zone and rescue as many animals as possible. They found survivors immediately, and more in the days that followed. One of those animals was Kai, a small dog who had been stranded on a roof for 4 days. He barked for help when he heard ARC's boat coming, but got quiet as soon as they approached. He patiently waited to be pulled onto the boat and then snuggled up to one of his rescuers for the ride back to dry land. Then off they went to a clinic right away. There are dozens of stories like dear Kai's, because the devastation from this flood was overwhelming. Rescuers risked their lives in floodwaters full of bacteria and sewage and chemicals, and there were downed power lines and military devices underneath the water too. Let's take a look at a video from our partner. Despite the difficulty and the dangers, ARC and our other partners have rescued nearly 300 animals from that dam breach. At one point, the military sealed off part of the area, and GCF-supported teams had to scramble to get their boats to a location where they could continue to search for animals. Rescuers have pulled dogs, cats, chickens, goats, and even a turtle off rooftops and from floating debris. One dog ARC rescued had been left behind as the waters rose, helplessly tethered to a building. He was so exhausted from treading water that by the time they found him, he could no longer stand. Animals like him will need long-term care to recover, not just physically, but emotionally. And your support makes this life-saving work possible for him and for all the others. Now let's meet another sweet survivor of this disaster, Afina.
Не бойся, ну.
Дім, криша точно плаває, бо дивись, якби була простройка, то волни йшли наперед.
Так, куда? Кот уже понял, что там запахло жареным.
Залазь аж на борт, на борт.
As the floodwaters have receded, new challenges have arisen. Houses and other structures that have been submerged are waterlogged, and there is the danger of their collapse. As you saw in Afina's rescue, our teams often have to climb gingerly across crumbling planks to get to stranded animals. Of course, life in a war zone is hardly predictable. Just as the flood situation was beginning to stabilize, ARC got called back to the front lines. The new offensive means fighting has intensified in the Kherson region, and members of the Ukraine military had requested their help saving animals there. This is Ira, a German shepherd living in a village humans had fled. He'd survived 4 Russian shelling attacks and was deeply traumatized. He was confused and trembling and required lots of reassurance as they worked to get him to safety. The team ultimately evacuated 35 animals from Ira's village. Like Afina, Kai, and Ira, every rescued animal needs food, medical care, understanding, and help to either find their lost families or go into foster or new homes. Many are suffering from shell shock brought on by the sounds of war. And the GCF isn't just in Ukraine, as you know. The GCF-supported clinic in Petra, Jordan, is battling a tourism enterprise that sees donkeys and camels as animals to be worked to death, deprived of water, their feelings not even registering as of interest when they collapse from exhaustion or have gaping wounds that are drawing flies. The men use goads and sticks to force donkeys to carry heavy people and horses to pull carts in the broiling sun, and they cover camels' terrible saddle sores with colorful blankets so that the tourists who ride them as a lark don't see their wounds. All of the animals inside Petra rely on a single water trough, which is often as dry as a bone, and so we must constantly push the government to fill it from a water truck. When that trough runs dry, they know animals' lives are at stake. Our Petra Clinic staff provide expert, gentle care to wounded or sick animals, thanks in no small part to the ambulances provided by PETA Vanguard Society members Lynn and Stephen Kane. All that most of these animals have experienced at human hands is pain, so no animal walks away without a comforting bit of carrot or a molasses treat. And our donkey smile competitions are teaching the next generation how to care for animals they already use to earn a living. These children bring their donkeys to the clinic and they're scored based on their treatment of the animals. Wounds or other signs of abuse mean deducted points, but top scorers get prizes like soft harnesses, and all children are encouraged to keep bringing their donkeys in for veterinary care and keep improving their scores. We hope to mold the future. Now let's travel from Petra to Peru. This spring, Cyclone Yaco dropped torrential rain on normally dry areas of the country, spawning floods that destroyed homes and affected almost 50,000 people. A GCF-backed team led by a wonderful teacher, longtime PETA member Maru Vigo, has been running spay and neuter campaigns in Peru since 2014, with over 1,500 animals fixed so far. In the aftermath of the storm, Maru and company were able to provide food to over 200 animals and to set up a new clinic to sterilize 250 animals made homeless by the flood. They're now preparing for another clinic in Lima. More on that in time. And away we go to India. I am so happy that this year is the 20th anniversary of Animal Rahat, marking a milestone of good works for yet another of our terrific partner organizations. Animal Rahat helps working horses and donkeys and bullocks, camels, ponies, and other animals in India, and is having an impact in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. When we started this work, we only had a small team of rescuers, but now, with the support of the GCF, we operate 5 regional field offices that provide veterinary care to thousands of sick, injured, and overworked animals every single year. We also run 3 unique large animal sanctuaries. Oh yes, and there are these slightly smaller animals who find their way there too, like Karuna, a puppy who had curled up to sleep on the straw covering of a well when it suddenly gave way. The owner of the well called Animal Rahat for help, and staff pulled Karuna out of the well, rushed her back to the sanctuary, and put her on life-saving fluids. She now has a full-time job, making the residents of the sanctuary feel loved, and she has a very best friend, Tuffy. Many of Karuna's fellow residents are animals who were once forced to work in terribly harsh conditions in sugarcane mills or in sand mining operations, or were made to haul carts full of lumber and other heavy goods literally until they dropped. They're now happily retired, as are those we've rescued from performing tricks in various traveling circuses. And everyone gets extra treats at festival times. Here's Caro resting his nearly 1,000-pound head on our caretaker's shoulder as our caretaker offers fresh fruits for a Hindu holiday. Animal Rahat staff found Caro running down a road in deep distress with a maggot-infested wound on his face. They had to give chase on a motorcycle and inject him with sedatives in order to take him for treatment. Now, 6 years later, Caro is happy and healthy in his permanent home at our Sangli Sanctuary. The sanctuary is also home to buffaloes rescued from the dairy business. Buffalo calves are simply abandoned on the street so that humans can take their mother's milk. Staff found Banzi wandering the streets of Satara and rescued Lalu when he was about to be sold for slaughter. Both buffaloes now live out their lives in an atmosphere of peace and affection. Animal Rahat does jaw-droppingly important work. For 365 days a year, their emergency response teams are on call to rescue animals in urgent need of help. Their scouts patrol villages on their motorbikes, looking out for animals like Karuna and Caro. Their emergency phone numbers are up on telegraph poles and at roadside stalls, so that anyone who sees an animal in need knows exactly where to call for help. And their rescue teams regularly perform difficult and sometimes dangerous feats. They all carry rappelling gear, because those states are littered with open wells, some 50 to 80 feet deep, their sides crumbling away. These wells cannot be covered, and into them unsuspecting animals fall and are trapped. Just this year, our staff rescued a water buffalo who'd been tethered to a stake dangerously close to a well. One wrong step, and she fell 60 feet, pulling the stake clear out of the ground. Animal Rahat hired a crane to lift her out, treated her with pain medication, and gave her some sugarcane tops as a treat afterward. They also spoke firmly to her owner about finding a less precarious spot to keep her in the future. Thanks to the GCF, Animal Rahat is also able to do the long-term job of education and community outreach to try to fundamentally change the way people view animals. For example, since 2021, Animal Rahat's vet staff has been training other veterinarians and veterinary students in painless castration methods for bulls. Without this initiative, practitioners would crush the animal's testicles with blunt instruments or between two bricks and with zero pain relief. But today, more than 1,200 animal care experts have been through Animal Rahat's training, sparing many animals an agonizingly painful procedure. Animal Rahat is also mechanizing the work that long-suffering animals are forced to do. With the support of GCF, Animal Rahat is meeting with sugarcane factory, brick kiln, and lumber yard owners and their workers to help get animals replaced with eco-tractors. Thanks to their hard negotiations, persuasive skills, and your generosity, over 57,000 bullocks have been replaced with eco-tractors in 26 sugarcane factories so far, and many others have made it out of other forms of servitude. Unfortunately, Animal Rahat is now facing an absolute nightmare. We are being forced to move over 200 horses, ponies, goats, sheep, donkeys, and other animals from our partner sanctuary's land in the Nilgiri Hills. This is because India's Supreme Court has suddenly designated a new elephant corridor, and all domesticated animals must be removed from the area. Animal Rahat needs to quickly prepare their Gundlapet sanctuary, a godsend that we established with a cornerstone donation from PETA Vanguard Society member David Rubin. It can receive these rescued animals, and this means that we must construct new shelters, new fences, new feed troughs. We must get trucks to transport them carefully to their new residence, and so on. Your gift to the Global Compassion Fund tonight will help Animal Rahat move quickly and make this transition as smooth as possible for all those animals. And that would be wonderful, so please help. In Delhi and Mumbai, the GCF also supports the work of PETA India's emergency response teams, who are on call for animals 24 hours a day. No job too big or too small for these dedicated workers. Recently, a PETA India team in Mumbai got a call about Rocky, a 7-year-old community dog spotted near the airport with a large tumor on his chest. The team found him, administered first aid from their ambulance, and took him for surgery to have the tumor removed. Rocky recovered completely and was released back to his territory to reunite with his pack. More than 2,600 of the calls they've responded to in the past year, from dogs being thrown into rapidly moving rivers to drown, to horses with bleeding mouths from spiked bits, have led the team to work with law enforcement to bring about charges. Thanks to a tip from a citizen, they recently found the Rambo Circus violating the law by forcing dogs to do scary tricks like jumping on top of a flagpole, and for a horrifying performance where a human appeared to swallow and then regurgitate live fish. All the animals were seized. In May, our team helped police raid another circus and seize a camel, 3 dogs, a pony, a goat, and a baby monkey. These animals had been forced to perform illegally, and most of them had been injured and hadn't received a lick of medical care. They took the monkey, a protected bonnet macaque, to a lovely sanctuary, and he enjoyed looking out of the car window all the way there. They also fought to get India's Central Zoo Authority to prohibit the use of elephants in circus performances, and as a result, 29 elephants were rescued from multiple circuses and are now all living the good life at a sanctuary in Gujarat. And because of PETA India, police in Delhi raided a market where traders were illegally holding thousands of wild parakeets and other birds in hideously cramped conditions. Let's take a look. These birds were given all they needed to return them back to health before being released back into the jungle where they belong. PETA India has also been dealing with a disturbing case of neglected horses in Kolkata. They are just skin and bones and sores. They pull heavy tourist carriages along the streets and then are tied out in a barren field or under a highway bridge. Their sores from the carriage shafts and the ill-fitting bridles left untreated. Following PETA India's investigation, though, the Calcutta High Court ordered that 18 of these horses be confiscated. PETA India got 9 of the horses to a sanctuary for treatment, but the owners of the others refused to relinquish them, and we are in court over that. Some horse owners even descended on PETA India's rehabilitation center in Kolkata and harassed and threatened our staff. They can be dangerous, and we're concerned that they may try to return with a mob to seize the horses, one of whom recently gave birth to a foal. So we have put up floodlights and CCTV cameras, and we've alerted the police to please patrol the area often. With the support of the GCF, PETA India is returning to court to try to get custody of all the horses. We're still hoping that this battle will result in their replacement by motorized e-carriages. Let me leave you with this news. Many temples around India still keep elephants captive. They're chained for life and forced to take money from worshippers with their trunks and then to spray water on the crowds as a blessing. PETA India managed to help the Iranjadapilli Sri Krishna temple find a rather unusual mechanization solution. An 11-foot-tall mechanical elephant who can spray water and dispense blessings. Let's take a look.
ഈശ്വരൻ സൃഷ്ടിച്ച സർവ്വജീവജാലങ്ങളെയും സംരക്ഷിക്കുകയാണ് യഥാർത്ഥ ആരാധനയുടെയും അനുഷ്ഠാനങ്ങളുടെയൊക്കെ താല്പര്യമായിരിക്കേണ്ടത്. ആനകളെ അവയുടെ സ്വാഭാവിക പ്രകൃതിയിൽ ജീവിക്കാൻ അനുവദിക്കുകയാണ് ആനകളെ പ്രതിനിധീകരിക്കുന്ന ഗണപതി ഭഗവാനോടുള്ള യഥാർത്ഥ ആരാധനയായിരിക്കേണ്ടത്.
I hope you are happy knowing of the creative and dedicated work that PETA India, Animal Rahat, and our teams in Ukraine, Peru, and Jordan have all been doing because of GCF donors' support. Let me pass you back to Jen White to wrap up this tour of just a few places the GCF helps, and thank you for all you do to help keep us going and keep us going strong.
Thank you, Ingrid. I am truly in awe of the work our GCF-supported teams are doing around the world. And you can help by going to the website at the bottom of your screen and making a monthly donation now. And if you haven't already, please consider becoming a monthly donor. The work powered by PETA's Global Compassion Fund requires us to not only respond quickly to emergencies, but to stick it out for the long haul. Becoming a monthly sustaining donor is the best way to help us keep doing this work, as long as there are animals in need anywhere. I know it can be hard to hear about animals suffering, but I hope that you're coming away from this event with the same feeling that I know those on the ground have, a determination to stick it out and do whatever it takes to save animals' lives and change the future for animals. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for your gifts to the Global Compassion Fund. We truly couldn't do this work without you. Until next time, goodbye.